Hey, what's going on? It's JP. Welcome to the channel. Now, I'm using a webcam. This is the Meet SE. It's a 1080 camera, and I'm using it right now. And the great thing about this is it's really cheap and can do some cool things. However, it's not the only budget webcam on the market, so I picked up this. This is the NexiGo HelloCam Pro, and it's a facial recognition webcam. And the reason why I've picked it is both of them are a 1/2.8 CMOS sensor, and they're both 1080. So I thought I'd put them side by side, and then I wanted to show you what they look like on a Mac. They work on both PC and Mac, but I wanted to show you what they'd look like on a Mac, specifically if we're doing a live stream and you want to just put this camera up somewhere. So we're going to put these two up head to head. I'm going to show you the visuals and show you the software for both. Okay, so the simplest thing I thought I could do is actually record my Mac screen. So on the top is the NexiGo HelloCam Pro, and then underneath is the OBSBOT Meet SE. Now they're both 1080. They're both also 1/2.8 CMOS sensors, and you can tell from the NexiGo is actually a little bit wider, just a little bit. Now the intro before I used the Meet SE, and I changed one or two settings. Right now, both of them are on auto. And the NexiGo seems to be just like doing things to my face. It seems to be beautifying me, which is, you know, make me look younger. But the fact is that it looks a little bit unnatural to me. I feel like it's a bit unnatural, certainly with the eyes on and here. It's not true to life. I think there's a little bit of softening going on somewhere with the NexiGo. If you have a look at the software here, the NexiGo software is pretty basic, certainly for Mac. I don't know if it's different for Windows, but you've got adjustments, advanced, and then support. I tried to make this bigger and it just won't let you do it. So you've got the preview, and then you can preview the audio or you can preview the camera. They're both at 1080 at 60 Hertz, and they're both recording in 16:9. Now, here's the difference for me. If I put my hand up for the Meet SE, I can obviously tell it to do different tracking. Now, the other one doesn't do tracking, of course. Whoa. And what it's going to do is it's going to obviously follow me around. Now, it is 1080, remember that. So obviously the quality will degrade the further I go. But the thing is, I'm not touching the camera. There's no gimbal on the camera. They're just static. And then you've got audio as well. But for musicians and performers, it's more likely you're going to plug in an audio interface. That's why we're using the Rode Video Mic Go 2. Now, at this point, I actually prefer the look completely on automatic. I prefer the look of the Meet SE. The other thing as well, of course, is I can adjust this. So let's go into the NexiGo and let's start adjusting this now. And the white balance is on auto. So of course, if I turn that off, it's on 4600. We don't want that. We're going to leave that on auto. And we can play around with the brightness and everything else here. You can just reset it to default, or you can save and load a preset, which is cool. You've then got advanced. The exposure is on auto, so we can move the exposure around. So I can adjust that accordingly. You can see it's trying to adjust itself there. So about, I would say, let's go to, can we go to 400? About 400, that's cool. There is this, I'm wearing an orange t-shirt now, obviously to stand out. It is really orange. It's like really vibrantly bright. We can zoom in, of course, if we want to zoom in. And as I zoom in, it looks like it's not doing it. So I don't know if that's going to work on like a Teams thing. And then there's roll. I think that just flips it. There we go. We got a tilt and a pan. Again, not doing anything. No. Okay. All right. Fair enough. And then we've got support, and that's just registering your stuff. So in the terms of that, it's a pretty basic camera. We can play with the hue there. That's fine. And then we can play with the saturation, and that's all fine. Make it super bright. I feel like the saturation is pretty bright already. So we could bring that down a little bit so it's a little bit more natural. It's probably a bit better. And that's fine. Let's move over to the OBSBOT. Now the OBSBOT actually is a slightly narrower camera. You can see just here, you can see my microphone just here, whereas on the OBSBOT, you can't see that because it's just slightly narrower. However, I can do a lot more control. So starting with, of course, I can change things by the zoom straight away. It works perfectly on Mac. And then we've got auto framing. So if I do auto framing, it then just starts framing and the little light goes purple on the controller there, which is really cool. So it's on single close-up right now. We could say upper body, and it'll start moving around and just have the upper body part. You've got group mode as well, so if someone else was to walk in, it would automatically reframe, which is cool. So you've got all of that. We can pan and tilt around if we're zoomed in. So if we zoom in a little bit, there we go, I can digitally pan and tilt around. And then there's also a way we can have it slow or fast. But we'll leave it at wide right now to be fair to the NexiGo, and then we go over to image. Now, right now it's on HDR. Let's take it off HDR. There we go. So right now that's non-HDR. We can then obviously, as it moves around, as I move around, it's changing the white balance. So let's put it back on HDR. There we go. And then we can change the focus. And this is where it uses the AI, not just for tracking, but also focusing on your face. So it's on face right now. So if I go really, really close, it should obviously stay in tracking with my face. If we then go global, that's fine. And of course, it'll remain global. So then if I hopefully put something in front of it, it should automatically reframe and refocus on that. There we go. It did that pretty good. If I then turn off the focus mode on the OBSBOT, then I can manually just go into focus, and that's fine. And I think we've got that there as well on the NexiGo. Let's have a look. We've got focus there, yeah, so we can manually just change the focus ourselves. So there we go. We can go into auto though. Let's put focus back on face right now. Exposure wise, we've got exposure here. This is in the other one, I think. Exposure, no, white balance. Exposure, yeah, there we go. We put that onto 400, didn't we? So let's do that for this one. Let's actually put this here. Now we can change this as well. It's not just exposure. We can change the shutter speed, which I think is really, really important because it depends on what you're filming. If you're filming at 30 frames a second, you want it to be at 60 really. So 1/60. So if we do 1/60 and then go to 400, that's pretty, real, accurate. I think it looks really, really good. You've got an anti-flicker. I think you've got an anti-flicker on this one as well. Power line, 50 and 60 hertz, yeah. So we got 50, 60 hertz there if you need it. So the ISO is set for 400 for both. White balance, again, very, very similar. So if I turn that off, it's at 4500. I can put that back to auto. Normally 6300, something like that. And then we've got pretty much what this is. So we've got contrast, saturation, sharpness, and hue. We've got contrast, saturation, sharpness, and hue here. So we could then change this if we wanted to. So we just moved over to the Tail 2. This is my main camera of choice, by the way, but it is a full production camera. If you want to go and see the video for that, I'll leave that in the cards now. It is an awesome camera. Now, the Meet SE is tiny, and I mean like tiny, tiny. It is really small, and it has this little adapter that you put on the back of your laptop or your display, and then boop, it's magnetic. So that's really, really cool. And it's USB-C on the back. And the amazing thing is, if you don't want to use that and you want to position it somewhere, it has a 1/4" thread. So it's got the thread there. Hopefully that will go into view. I think it's viewing on my face at the moment. Let me do that. There we go. It's got that little 1/4" thread there. And that's great. The slight downside with this is it is so small and so light that if you've got a really heavy cable, it can actually sort of pull it backwards a little bit. But if this is latched onto here, it's not a problem. But if it's on its own, just be careful with that, because that is the problem with it being so light. Having said that though, this thing is pretty awesome. And because it can do the AI tracking as much as the Tail Air and also the Tail 2 and all the other big cameras, that software has been filtered down to the SEs. So things like this and the Tiny SE and the Tiny 2 and all the other ones can do that kind of tracking by default. Moving over to the NexiGo Go, it has this thing actually built in, and it has a cool little trick. So it's got the same kind of clamp, but it's way bigger, way, way bigger. Now I've left this one plugged in because you can see on the NexiGo, it's got this privacy thing. So the privacy thing is always there, even if the camera is plugged in. And what it does is it will only come on when the software tells it to. So I'm going to boot up while we're talking now. I'm going to boot up QuickTime, and I'm going to go movie recording, and then we're going to pick the Nexicon. See that? it flicked open, and that's kind of cool. If I then quit that, watch what happens when I quit it. If I just bring this to your attention, see that? It's so quick. It is really quick. Now, if I actually bring up QuickTime again and just say movie recording, and there we go, it came back up. I can tap it, and it'll turn on and off itself. And that's pretty cool. That's wicked. And these two here, I was wondering what these two are. It's a little infrared camera and sort of LED light system. And then there's an LED light here, as you can see. And the microphones are these two little black dots there and there. So they are wider, but the size difference, I mean, I could fit two of these sort of on the same thing. That's the other thing about this as well. This doesn't come off. So it will move around, and it has the 1/4" thread underneath if you need it. There we go. Let me just make sure that's in shot there. So it will do that, and it can spin round, and you can put it whichever way you want, which is cool, but you cannot remove this adapter. Whereas with the Meet, it is magnetic. It just pops on there, or you've got the 1/4" if you want to do it manually yourself. So while the NexiGo has that, where it does it automatically, the Meet SE has this little lens cap that just automatically just sits on there magnetically, which is, you know, simple enough. The only downside of that is you could potentially lose it. So if you put it somewhere that you forget about, so that could be more convenient, but you know, it's just a nice little simple thing if you want the privacy. I don't really use them, if I'm honest. I don't really see the point, because if your microphone and camera are switched off on a Mac, it's off, and it tells you that it's off because it indicates that. So from a point of privacy, I'm not too worried about that. But if you are worried about that from a Mac or Windows point of view, then obviously that is something to consider. Where we really get into the bones of it though, is with the OBSBOT Meet, you've then got a more page, and this is where you've got gesture control. So I can, just without doing anything, put my hand up, and of course it auto adjusts me. It's on single close-up, and maybe you have it on upper body, and it'll adjust that. When it's not tracking, I can zoom in, so we can just obviously zoom in like that. Hi. And then we can zoom back out again. And it's pretty quick. I quite like that zoom. So you can choose the zoom factor, like how much zoom there is. Then you've got all these adjustments for the microphone. I don't know with this one if it does have microphone adjustments. I think you have to actually go over to the audio bit. I might lose the camera here. No. Just doesn't really. No. Okay, fair enough. But let's go over to the OBSBOT one. We've got noise reduction, we've got AI noise reduction, auto gaining, we've got disable microphone if you want to. You've got radio distance as well. So if you're far away, so if I'm over there, you actually can boost the signal on the stereo mics, so therefore it's actually far away. So you could say close, standard, or far. And then we've got things like mirror image. You've got an indicator on the camera itself, so therefore you can change the indicator beam and the status of it. And then it's got firmware updates directly in the software. That being said, with the NexiGo Go, you've got software here, and it says obviously about manuals and product trial program, whatever that is. But one thing that I've missed is actually the bit at the top on the OBSBOT. You could have 4 of these. You could have 4 of these running at the same time. And the preview that I'm doing right now, this is the video preview, and I can record directly from there. So if you didn't use things like QuickTime on the Mac or a video recorder on Windows, OBSBOT Center actually has a video recorder built in, and you can record directly on there. Now I'm recording on QuickTime because I wanted to show them both at the same time. I thought that was just the easiest way to do it. One other thing as well, as I move this preview page, it readjusts, that's my microphone in the background, but as I readjust this and move it, it moves it to the right shape. The weird thing with the NexiGo is you can choose the frame rate, and that's fine, great, no problem at all. But if I move this, it cuts off the preview. It doesn't recenter the preview, which I think is bizarre, and I can't change it beyond what it is. Exactly the same as if you go to the menu, it doesn't change. Now this menu here actually will go to about there, and then you can only have it as a minimum. You can't make it any wider because it's very specifically designed. So a little bit of upgrading needed on the NexiGo to show you the preview properly. So I can't make that smaller. if I'm showing something maybe on the screen, or if I just want it to be smaller because I don't really want it in the way, because I want it at 1080. If I put it at 640 by 480 60 frames, there we go, great. But the thing is, it's now recording that output at 640 by 480. I want it in 1080. So let's go back to 1080 60 frames. It's, yeah, there you go. It's just thrown it off the side of the thing. So if I then go, right, let's put that there, it's taken up quite a bit of my screen. So in the sense of watching yourself back, it's quite difficult. Just to showcase this for you, I'm also going to plug in another camera, which is the other OBSBOT, just to showcase what happens when you plug this in with OBSBOT's OBSBOT Center. This is the Tiny SE. So this is the Meet SE's little brother, but it actually has auto tracking to the point where it has a little gimbal on board. So I'm going to just plug this in, let it boot up, and here's the other thing as well. The Nexicon got really, really picky about what USB cable I used. I had to change to be a very specific cable plugged into a very specific port for the Nexicon to even light up and work. I actually thought it was broken to begin with, and I thought I was going to have to send it back. Now, you'll notice that the OBSBOT Center has changed, and it's changed slightly. It's got a little bit bigger, and that's because you can have it in the preview mode, because you've got number 1 and number 3. Number 2 is my tail 2. But if I go to here, I can actually have 4 different devices connected at the same time. I'm just going to alter this one slightly so you can see me. There we go. These are both HD, obviously very small output on the screen, because obviously that's the way it is. But I can have up to 4 different devices all running through the same software. And here's the kicker. I can record like that, so I can actually record the output being just this one, the one with the red icon with it, and I'm going to change over to this one. If you have a look here at OBSBOT Center, look where it says 1 and 3. If I go here and here and here and here, and very quickly it'll just switch between the two. The software is so good. If I go back over to this one, this obviously is the Meet SE. If I then go over to this one and then we click there, that's the Tiny SE, and that's obviously what I'm using. So from a point of setting up your camera rig, if you bought like 2 of these, or 1 of these and 1 of the Tiny, so the Tiny can move around and track you while you're performing or playing, it's an absolute no-brainer for me, and it's a win. No disrespect to the NexiGo. The NexiGo, it looks okay, it looks fine, and probably with a little bit of tweaking you can get it looking good, but it's not going to do the tracking, although it is slightly wider. I'm not going to showcase the audio from each one. There's no real point there, because if you're plugging in an audio interface or a microphone as a musician, you'd probably use that. If you have found the content of this video useful, let me know, and obviously let me know by giving me a thumbs up. By giving me a thumbs up, that really helps me out, helps the channel out, helps this grow, and send it out to more people who might want to watch it. Now, if you want to have a look at the full review of the Meet SE and also the Tiny SE as well, they're the 2 videos that have just come up on screen. Thank you very much to OBSBOT for sending them out to me. Go and have a look at the difference, because they are so cheap for what you're getting.